My younger brother, he's a mooch. I've been supporting him for the last 6 months and I'm done. Here's what my parents had to say about it, and you won't believe the audacity.
Yep, that's right. Hey, I don't know if anyone will actually read this, but I don't care. I just need an outlet for all this bad that I'm going through. Thanks to my brother and my parents, I feel ashamed of all them, and I can't believe this is the kind of family I have to be associated with for the rest of my life. I'm Jaden, I'm 26. My 21-year-old brother Joe has been living with me for the past year. When I say living with me, I actually mean living off of me. He graduated last year and has not been able to get a job since then. Whenever I offered to help him or asked him how things had been, he either got offended or just said, "I'm trying," and I'm just on the cusp of getting an offer. I was tired of hearing this, because I saw him slacking around all day, either with his friends or even sleeping half the day till noon, hosting barbecue parties every Saturday as if this were his house, just because he's my younger brother. I wanted to support him as much as I could, but after a point it starts to feel like he was just taking advantage of me, because being his sister, this was the pattern he was repeating. Even when we were kids, he could very easily manipulate me into doing his work for him, but I could not let him do that anymore. So I made it a point to ask him every single day about his job situation, so that he was forced to get off his butt and do the work. I could sense that he started to avoid me as much as he could, which was only tough for him since we live in the same house. He grew very uncomfortable after a point, and that's what I wanted, honestly, because nobody can grow or change until they become uncomfortable. After like a week or two of this, I told him that he was no longer allowed to bring his friends home until he got a job. And the way he got so worked up over me saying that was a sight to witness. He grew all emotional and hysterical, and again started saying the same things. "I'm trying, why are you doing this to me?" I was so used to this that I straight up went inside my room and slammed the door, and he just kept screaming. Now, this is 6 days after that? He comes up to me and says that he has a job at the mall as a store manager. 6 days. Yeah. I was surprised, to say the least, that all it took for him to get a job so quickly was for me to take away some of his privileges. I was really relieved and happy that he could finally get up on his feet and not cost me so much money. That's when I did not hear the next thing that he said. He said that the job did not pay enough to cover all of his expenses yet, so he still needed a small amount of money from me every month. He did not specify what exactly the amount was, but I thought it would be manageable. Then he said that he would still be living with me for some time. After this somewhat excitement I felt for him also kind of vanished, but I was like, it's still better than nothing. So he starts his job that week, and within the next month started, he asked me for money. But the problem was that he asked me for the same amount as he did before, and I was under the impression that now that he has a job, he would need less. So I asked him why he needs so much now that he's landed a job. Well, he said that he was also trying to, quote, save up from the money he was making, so once he had enough, he could pay me all of it back. This made much sense to me, as it makes to you, but I was just so glad that he was working that I believed him without paying much attention, because, after all, he was my brother. So months passed like this, and after 6 months I realized that he was still talking the same, and just taking the exact amount of money from me as he did before. As a store manager, he must be making at least, $30 an hour, you would say? And he was working 9 hours every day except for Sunday, so it's impossible that he did not have enough money unless he was blowing it all, on unnecessary crap. But I knew if I asked him, I would have gotten the same old answer, so I decided to drop by the store and see if he actually works there. I went to the mall the very next day, and I trotted up to his store. I didn't see him around, so I asked an attendant where Joe might be, and they said that, there's nobody called Joe working at this store. So I clarified that I was looking for the store manager. The store manager comes marching out, and it was someone else. I asked him if he knew Joe, and he said the store had only one store manager, and it's him. And Joe was not him. I came out of the store shocked and angry. My brother had again played me for a fool and used my soft side to manipulate me into giving him money and not pestering him about getting a job at the same time. After months of feeling slightly relieved, I was back to being extremely disappointed and angry at him. A part of me also felt helpless because I was running out of ways to deal with him. I went home and waited for him to come back from his pretend job. And when he did, I asked him where he had been spending his days for the last 6 months. He looked at me as if I were being ridiculous and said that he was at work. I screamed at him and said I knew that he had been lying to me and that he did not work at any store because I visited it and found out that he did not work there. His entire facial expression changed in an instant, and he asked me why I visited the store. To which I replied that his allowance from me had not been reduced by $1 for 6 months. And I was done letting him manipulate me. I'm much older and much more experienced than him, especially when it comes to working. Well, he just burst into tears and starts pinning the blame on me, saying that I've been pressuring him so much despite all of his, quote, efforts and constant trying, and he felt really stressed and anxious. So he lied, but he was still constantly trying. I asked him what his definition of trying to sleep all the time and hanging out with friends all the time was. I again asked him where he had been going all this time, and he said he was at a friend's house, applying for jobs every day, and I was just done, sick of listening to the same excuse again. I told him to shut up and that he needed to leave the house if he did not have a real job in his hands by the end of the week. I don't care where he would go, but I was just done with his lies. I would have fully supported him if he had actually been trying, but I saw him waste away a whole year and then lie to me. He ran out of the house crying and just went somewhere. I had no idea where, but I was too angry to care, and honestly, I just went to sleep. Now, the next morning, right before I was about to leave for work, the bell rang. It was my parents at the door. I was happy to see them because it's been months since I last saw them. But then right behind them was my brother, looking at me all weird and, quote, hurt. Right that second, I knew that some drama was about to be born and that I could not go to work. They came in, silent, serious, sat on the couch. I was very confused, but I was almost sure that this was going to be about my brother, about what to do with him since he had absolutely no job. But it turns out they had come to blame it on me. My mother, she starts asking me why I had not been helping my brother because it was my duty to do so. My father starts implying that the fact that I was turning my back on him showed that I did not respect them enough because I was clearly trying to cause dents in the family. I could not believe these words were coming out of their mouth. They were blaming his incompetence on me and completely just riddling him of any responsibility. This is exactly what he's always been like. He's just manipulative. He manipulates everyone into seeing him as the victim all the time so he can keep taking advantage of everything. I told them, guys, I've been supporting him for 1.5 years while he was constantly lying about trying to look for a job, while just slacking around all day playing video games and waking up at noon. After which he also lied about having a job for 6 months. They didn't listen to anything I said and just said that as the eldest child, it's my responsibility to take care of the entire family, which is just such BS. If I keep taking care of him, he'll never learn responsibility or even try to become independent. What did they expect? That I would just keep giving him money till he was 30, 50, 70? They said their piece and refused to even listen to me, let alone let me speak. The argument ended with him declaring that he would continue to live with me and that I would support him until he gets a job. Basically, nothing changed for me. I didn't even bother to argue more because they were not listening to a word and just refuting the most baseless and illogical arguments. How do you argue with somebody so stupid? They just had lunch, spent the day with me, and skedaddled. This happened yesterday, and I've been really trying to move past it and somehow tell myself it's okay. I can't, though. I've been constantly irritated, angry, and sad, and nothing I'm doing is helping. I don't know if I can fully explain how helpless I feel right now, because once again he has succeeded in taking advantage of me. I don't know what to do about it anymore. My parents are openly siding with him and making me feel so shite and guilty, and I really need your help. Any suggestions? Anything? If there's anything you can think of I can do to get out of this mess, it's most welcome to hear it. What is up, everybody? Mr. Redito here. So, we should check out some of these comments before we hop into the first update. I hope you guys are having a great day. Today's story is a little wild being in OP's position. Well, here's a positive comment to kick it off. It says, hey, what kind of parents are they? Overburdening one kid so much while not teaching the other any sense of responsibility whatsoever? I can't believe 2 full-grown adults would actually make senseless arguments. Your brother is clearly a manipulator, and your parents are naive enough to let him get away with it. I feel mad at them that I can't even move past that. What they said? I think you need to keep pushing back on all 3 of them, because either way, it's costing your mental capacity a lot, not to mention your finances, so you might as well try to save your money and rid of them. Well, that was a pretty positive comment in terms of aiming at OP, but now we're going to look at not so positive. Here's a negative comment. It says, your brother is only 21. It's very rare that a person's completely on their feet by that age. Like, come on, were you completely independent by 21? I feel so bad for him that he has to resort to all this lying just because of you. As his sister, do you not understand his struggle? Have you tried any other way of supporting him instead of just pestering and taunting him? Maybe use your connections to help him get a job. If he's struggling, then his family should help him, period. Alright guys, let me know which one of those comments you're rocking with the most down below, and also don't forget to subscribe for daily videos. We have some updates to jump into, and this story might take a turn. Here's the first one, update number 1. Has everyone read the first post? I hope you have. Anyways, hey guys, it's just been 1 month since the previous one, but here I am again. The situation has only gotten out of hand and is even worse than before. But first of all, thank you to everybody who responded, because I was pretty convinced that nobody would reply and it would just get lost. But thank goodness you guys did. Just having your support is a big deal to me right now. And to everybody who said I should support him, I said I would love to support him, but he's been taking advantage of my kindness for the longest. And if so, my parents are the ones who should also be helping him. I'm just 26, and though I do have a good-paying job, it's too much when I have to give him thousands of dollars every month. Anyways, after my parents left that day, Joe's disposition completely changed, switched up. He went from his little victimized self to the king of the home, as if now my parents had weathered him. I could not do a thing. But he was wrong about that, right? The sudden blow of the moment was just too much for me to process, which is why I was not really in the state to say anything to him. But that didn't mean I was just going to sit by on my hands helplessly. Also, I think I forgot to mention in my last update that I'm also married and have a 3-year-old daughter. Yeah, I know, I got married comparatively early and had a daughter at 23. My husband is Kevin, he's 28. My daughter, Taylor. When all of this happened to me, this drama, they had both gone to visit his mother as she had been unwell for a few days. I, of course, always had to stay at home to make sure Joe did not burn the house down, because he was actually capable of doing that. So, you see, he was also affecting my personal life. I could seldom go anywhere with Kevin because one of us always had to stay home. Anyways, they were back. I told Kevin everything, and he was just as shocked as me and you guys at what my parents had said. But after they left the same week, Joe brought some girl home at night, and he must have tried to hide her. But I saw her going through the washroom, and when I asked him who the hell is she, he was very clearly drunk and barely able to answer me. It was clear that she was just some random girl he had brought from the club. I was just so mad because I live with my family in the same house, and he had brought home some random girl to, well, yeah. I made him drink a lot of water and tried to sober him up so he could make the girl leave, but then she was also drunk, and it was not safe for her to leave at the house at that hour. So, I let her stay the night and made them sleep in separate rooms. The next morning, I asked her to leave and confronted Joe about it, and he just said that it was his house too because his mom and dad had asked me to take care of him, which means that they could bring whoever he wanted over. And she had to be okay with it, and the audacity of this kid. This really angered me, and I told him he was just a stupid, entitled little brat who was not capable of doing anything good with his life, and that he brought home a girl again. He would regret it big time. He still did not shut up and said that I couldn't do a thing about it, and I could not ground him because he was just going to go again and badmouth me to our parents. And they would believe every single word. Unbelievable! I was just exploding with anger, so I stormed out and left for work. Guys, this was a month ago? He didn't stop there. He starts bringing girls almost every night. And even my husband tried to talk to him, but that did not go any different. Every night with these girls, they banged stuff in the kitchen, made loud noises, played the TV at all loud volumes. I think one night there were multiple girls with him. This has been going on for a month, and every time it disturbs my husband and my daughter. Let's not even start with me. But we have a kid living in the house that we both paid for. And this is the kind of cheap environment he's creating? This is really getting out of hand. Things are just so much worse than before, and he's right. He could easily lie to my parents and they would believe him. I feel even more helpless than before right now. I have no idea what to do about this abomination, which is my brother. What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. Update number 2 is coming up, and yes, I've read a lot of the comments. I don't know why OP doesn't just kick her brother out, or the husband for that matter, but hey, maybe we'll get some answers, guys. If you're enjoying this story, make sure you subscribe. Here is update number 2. Oh my gosh, thank you guys. Just when I thought bringing a million random girls over was the worst thing that he could do, he went ahead and did something even more messed up. And I messed up big time, by the way, too. I know it was just 2 weeks since my last post, but hear me out. You have no idea even remotely where this is going. A few days after I wrote the last update, I had just come back home from work early. I went straight to Taylor's room and she was crying. She had her piggy bank in her hands and I asked her what was wrong. She said that she had collected $104 last week, but now she was only left with $30. My poor baby was heartbroken, and seeing her like that made me cry. I asked her if she was sure she had exactly $104, and she said she counted it every day. I consoled her and gave her a brownie and the amount of money that was missing from the piggy bank. At first, I thought maybe she could have been confused, but then, when Kevin came back home, it was just casually me telling him about what happened, and I realized it. Wait a minute, what if Joe had done something with the money? Kevin said that he was taking so much money from me, what could he possibly want 74 buckaroonies for? It made sense, but I was still not sure about where else her money could just disappear to. So I asked him, hey, do you know anything about it? Well, he denied giving the same reason Kevin gave, and I let it go that night, but then yesterday I opened my security fund drawer. It was this drawer in our room, and it was locked. And only Kevin and I know the code for it, so there's almost $10,000 in it. Cash. Just in case of an emergency and we had to use it. I checked that drawer a few days ago and was freaking out because guess what? All the money was gone. I freaked out when I saw the empty drawer and immediately called Kevin to ask if he had used it, and he was just as shocked as I was. I can't even tell you how bad we had both panicked because it was a lot of money that just vanished. I start to cry and, because if so much money was disappearing from our house, it meant we were not safe. That's when he said that he was sure Joe had something to do with this. I said that only the two of us knew the code, so there's no way we could have let him get into it, but it was still a plausible thought. I went up to his room, and I saw a huge streaming gaming PC, which I had no idea that he bought. I checked the price of the gaming PC. It was $6,000. We're talking water-cooled and all. That's when it hit me that he had stolen our money, which also meant that he had stolen from Taylor's piggy bank. My anger shot through the roof. I started to cry. That's how frustrated I was. I just sat on the bed and started to cry. He was taking so much money from me, and he still felt the need to steal more? As well from my 3-year-old daughter? What did he even do with those 73 bucks? That's when I realized that this was some kind of disease to him. That he would just constantly want as much money as possible without working a second for it at all. He entered the room, and when I saw him, it just broke my heart because I never thought that my brother would turn out to be an absolute thief like this, but that's who he is. He starts to scream at me. saying that, what was I doing in his room looking at his new computer, and that's when I lost it. I was so angry that I screamed out my lungs. I said that he was so cheap, that he had first stolen $70 from my own daughter. What did he do with it? And then he proceeds to blow our hard-earned security savings on some pretentious gaming computer, which would only keep him from getting a job even longer, and that he was a disgrace to me. He tried to refute it, but I did not let him speak. I was just so angry that I screamed at him even more and asked him to get out of the house. I don't care what he says to our parents. I don't care about any of that. He left the house, and that's when I heard sounds of somebody breaking something. I looked out the door, and it was Joe. He was smashing my car. He was smashing my car with a stick. The entire neighborhood had gathered around the house and started recording him. He did that for about 10 minutes, then threw the stick on the ground and left, and I think there's no point of trying to explain how I felt at that moment. My car's completely smashed and ruined, and I can only hope it can be repaired. It was hysterical, it was, with everyone around my house making videos of Joe creating all this drama. To say that I was enraged is an understatement. After that, he just came home and went into his room a few hours later. Kevin and I are traumatized right now, and Taylor's asking way too many questions that I just don't have the answers to. Things are at an all-time low for us right now. Update number 3. Hey guys, I'm back. It's been 4 months, pretty long time. I know. To be honest, I was not even sure if I would write another update because the last time I did, things were just so bad. I was sure that I was never going to be able to get rid of Joe, who was hogging up all of my money and stealing from us. But things took a huge turn just a few weeks after that. A lot of you told us to report him to the police, asking us if it was the obvious option. I mean, come on. But he is also my brother. I know that, which is what was so complicating for this in the first place. It's easy for someone else or an outsider to make such a suggestion, and that may seem very easy to you. Oh, just go to the police. But it's also complicated when it comes to family. I don't want to get into this nitty-gritty of it right now, so yeah. This is why it took us weeks to come to the decision that only a way left to safeguard our family and money now was to report him for the damage to property and stealing. And that's what we did, knowing full well that he might have to make time for it, but after having tried every single option to get him on track and get him to understand that this was the only thing left, I honestly blame my parents for all of this, and I mean all of it, just because they've been complacent to his manipulation and enablers, and they are the ones responsible for raising a man like Joe. So guys, around 3 months ago, he got a sentence, 7 years. That time was very difficult for us because I never wanted things to get this bad, yet it was the only way left. All I could tell myself to feel better was that it was the best thing that we were doing for Taylor, and 7 years was not even that long of a time for all the mental, emotional, and financial stress that Joe has caused us. This was also around the time when all the videos that people took of Joe smashing my car went viral, which was weird because it was pretty random of a thing to go viral, but hey. Anyways, the video, it's going, and I showed it to my parents and I sent it to my mom, and the next day they came over to our house again to apologize for not having listened to me and for enabling Joe to this extent. But then they also said that sending him to prison was a bit too much, because everything he did was surely punishable, but this was going too far. That's when I lost it. The last string of hope I had from them to finally accept a decision that I made was also gone. I told them that their son had stolen $10,000 from me, along with having smashed my vehicle to pieces, which cost $3,000 to repair every window. And since they blindly supported him all along, they needed to pay me back. And if they did not, they would meet the same fate as Joe. Let's not even get started on how much money he borrowed from me every month for what? 2 years? They should have been thankful I was not asking them for that. They were pretty shocked at all the hysterics after hearing this, but I stood my ground and told them if they did not want an ugly lawsuit on their hands and their old age, they better pay me everything their son had cost me, all because of their enabling. My dad tried to argue with me, telling me that I was just emotional and not making any sense. Well, I said that whatever relationship I had with them, I didn't want it anymore because it had only brought me pain since I became an adult. Long story short, They had to pay me back $13,000, after which I stopped talking to them. They lost their son and daughter all in one go, and that's it. We've been living in peace since then, which honestly made me forget what it felt like. Thank you to the ones supporting me in this journey and for caring for our family. I owe you guys a lot. Bye for now.